Welcome to another sparkling edition of Plank of the Week, the greatest TV show that has ever emanated from this very building. Now, I've got very, very good news for you today because James Whale, the legend, the broadcasting man for many decades, the oldest man, I think, on talkTV, has agreed to join us. And we don't even have to pay him. He's so happy to do it. Thank you, James.
That's all right.
Very kind of you.
You do have to make a donation to my pension, though.
Yes, I'll happily do that. I'll happily do that. Molly Kingsley, for the first time, is here. From us for them. I don't know if that's how we should be billing you, but welcome to the show.
That's great.
Now, you haven't been here before, so
No.
we'll be very gentle with you, but we're going to let you start with your first nomination.
Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kwasi Kwarteng.
Yes.
Not because he's done something really bold,
Right.
we'll verdict out on that one, but because, again, he's forgotten about the kids. So everyone forgets about the kids. So about a year ago, Sir Kevin Collins, who was the Education Recovery Tsar, asked for the measly sum of 15 billion to recover children after all they'd suffered in the pandemic. And there was a very strong moral case for that. There was a very strong economic case for that, because if we don't have a good education system, if we don't have educated kids, we're not going to have an economy, so we're not going to have anything else. And anyway, the government brushed that off. They sacked Sir Kevin for that outrageous demand. And
What would the 15 billion have been for, though? What would they have spent it on?
Well, fair point. They would have spent it in part on teachers, but also on targeted recovery and on making sure that the children that had been most disadvantaged were caught up. So a good portion of that was going to be on targeted tutoring and on extracurricular.
Because kids have really fallen behind in a massive way, haven't they?
Kids have fallen behind massively, and they've fallen behind in education and also mental and physical health. And actually, when we talk about education as a shorthand for all those things, it's much more than education. But I think the consistent story for, not only this government, but successive governments now has been to deprioritise education. So education spend has gone up 3% compared to health's 42% in the last 15 years. And what we have now is an unsustainable situation where, the schools are literally crumbling. Actually, the school estate is crumbling. I don't know if you saw what happened at Tiverton with the election there, and the leaky school roof was, big.
My kids' school has been under construction. They're building a new school, literally.
I think you're both talking rubbish. And before we could carry on, OK, if you're easily offended, you really shouldn't watch it. But
that's what you say on your show.
Yeah, but
you can watch this show if you are easily offended.
This is ridiculous. Kids are now no discipline. I saw Piers talking to that amazing head teacher the other day.
The one from Peckham,
Yeah. And I'm getting fed up with it. They moan about their phones, they moan about their iPads, they moan about their computers. Kids now have it too easy. And furthermore than that, teachers are pretty useless, most of them.
A lot of the schools are.
Yeah. Not only that, university, and who wants to go to university? I didn't do school or university much, it didn't hurt me. University lecturers have become so woke, so childish, so stupid. In the day, I used to go regularly to Oxford and Cambridge and take part in debates. Well, I wouldn't be allowed now, would I?
No,
I might upset some of you little darlings.
Yes.
And I think we have to rethink the education system.
Well, I agree with you on that, and I certainly don't disagree with the university
I like
point.
you more and more. When I checked you out on Twitter, I didn't like you so much. But,
Teachers,
Sorry,
I think good teachers are make or break a child's life. I think the unions, some of the unions have been absolutely atrocious. And actually they've given the teaching profession a bad name, but I think that has to be differentiated. So I do take your point, pouring money, I'm no fan of a big state. However, I think you have to accept that if you're going to have a state school system, you need to put money into it. Now, I think there's a bigger question about actually the brokenness of our state school system and the unionised nature of it, but at the moment it is not serving the kids. I mean,
parents. What about parents?
Well, parents should have a far greater role, and I think one thing the last 2 years actually have shown, both here but actually more particularly in the States, is there is a huge role for involved parents.
I was a parent at 18. Not a good idea. But in those days, right? Not a good idea. But I can go and get a dog, and if I get a dog, and I love my dogs, girls, if you're watching. If I get a dog, I get asked all sorts of questions, all sorts of things. Any one of us can bring another human being into the world without actually having to prove that we are capable of it.
Because it's your human right.
Well, and this is really interesting.
Parent, isn't it? I mean,
no, it's not.
Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't
people
be.
think it is. No, people think it's your human right to have a child.
You should have parenting lessons. So, what if actually we put the onus of raising decent human beings more onto parents, but we supported parents? Well, you get no support as a parent.
But who's going to teach parenting lessons? Because if you get the same people teaching parenting lessons who teach, kids, then you're going to have a lot of screwed up parents, aren't you?
No, well, no. I mean, I think you've got to accept that there are hopefully some good parents, and actually you could leverage that. And
No, there are.
You know,
There are. But I mean, I'm quite a good parent, I think, but some people would argue that, right, as James would suggest. However, I haven't got time to teach anybody else how to be a good parent. If they're not good parents, that's their problem. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not a philanthropist, and I'm not, you know, I've got enough time on my hands to look after my own kids. But the problem is that the state isn't very good at looking after people who can't look after their own kids. And I don't know what you do about that.
No, I mean, I don't think you have the state teaching, frankly. And,
But don't too many people rely on the state? Everybody, you know, we've got all these jobs available at the moment. Nobody wants to do a job. People who, and why should I actually subsidise a big business because they don't pay enough money for somebody to live on? So if you're a supermarket and your minimum wage isn't enough to live on, you can go and claim a benefit. Well, those benefits should be scrapped. And if you have a business, you should be able to afford to pay a decent amount of money to the person right at the bottom as well as the person at the top. Isn't that obvious?
Well, I would have thought so. But, I mean, Kwasi Kwarteng's getting it from all sides at the moment because apparently he's caused this global kind of crash.
It's only been a week. I mean, leave the bloke
very
alone.
I mean, it's been a bit unlucky, you'd have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, an awful lot of what the problem is not even being caused by the government. It's been caused by the fact that America put their interest rates up and the dollar is very strong against the pound. But I take your point. But I don't know where he's going to find 15 billion from.
Well, I don't think they are now, and I think that's symbolic. Kids are just nowhere in this government's thinking, and, you know, they haven't been for, well, decades, if we're honest, and I think we will pay for that down the line.
Yeah. Well, James?
OK.
Your first one.
Well, it's going to be Nicola Sturgeon, or Jimmy Cranky, as I prefer to call him, her, on my show. And the reason is because I got quite a lot of stick for having a go at those disgusting, filthy, moronic idiots who support that football team for being very rude to Her Majesty.
Yes.
Do you agree?
And you were quite right to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think even if they feel how they feel, that was not the place or the time to do it.
No.
Never would have been.
And I will never forgive them. And they can troll me as much as you like, because I couldn't care less. As long as you're talking about me, that's the main thing. Nicola Sturgeon went to the funeral to show her respect, which I thought was very two-faced of her, considering she doesn't want to be part of the United Kingdom.
Although they do still want the monarch, though. The SNP rather ridiculously say that if they were to get independence, they would still want to have a monarchy, which I find very bizarre.
What's the rationale?
I don't understand why they would still want.
Probably because the monarch brought more money
brings
to
money,
Scotland. Well, what are they going to do? Their economy, if they don't want oil, they don't want coal, the whiskey, you can get it cheaper elsewhere. I mean, what have they
making
got?
whiskey in Wales, you know.
Yeah, it's
I
very
got
good
some
whiskey.
Welsh whiskey the other day.
Really?
It's not bad.
I am Welsh.
Are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
My mother came from the Rhondda.
The Rhondda?
Yeah,
Very
actually,
nice.
they're not very happy with me in Wales because I have this whole thing of making it compulsorily to learn Welsh.
Yes.
Well, what use is that unless you go to Patagonia?
Well, if you're going to go and learn Welsh, you need to go and live in Wales and work for the government.
Well, yeah,
they would love
exactly.
All that. It's self-perpetuating.
So Nicola Sturgeon and all those people who think that Scotland should be an independent country, that's my first plank.
Okay. Well, my first plank is going to be the banks, because believe it or not, as a result of Kwasi Kwarteng's budget, there's been a panic.
They've closed his mortgage down.
They haven't closed my
nowhere to
mortgage.
live.
I've had many mortgages, right? I don't currently have one. Usually what I do is I just buy a house and then give it to somebody else.
Usually a woman, and then you lose loads of money.
Yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, that has happened a few times. But the point is that banks exist to do one thing, and that is to lend people money, right? You put your money into the bank. Sometimes they give you some interest, not very much.
No.
I mean, I think the last time I got some interest from the bank, it was about 3 pence.
Yeah, it's always 3
And
pence.
it's
Why?
like,
How?
why are you even bothering to give me...
And they need to print the paper. How much does that cost?
They could take 3 pence. Well, I've gone paperless, actually. So, you know...
I beg your pardon?
Paperless.
All right.
I don't usually paper.
But why? Answer me this question. The Halifax is the only one I can think of at the moment, because I like their advertising and I'm available. They have said they're going to stop doing mortgages, haven't they, and some of the others? Well, that's their job. So it's hardly going to be very long because they're suddenly going to say, oh, we're not giving out any mortgages.
Well, there's 10 banks here, including Halifax, Virgin Money, Skipton, Clydesdale Bank, Scottish Building Society, Bank of Ireland, and something called Paragon that I've never heard of. And they've all said that because of the uncertainty in the market, they won't lend any money. And some of the people who are asking for the money have already made arrangements. So they're actually in the process of buying a house, and now the bank have pulled the mortgage.
If the bank actually do that, they are really cretinous, in my view, and they need to. They
shouldn't be doing it.
Because I don't mind them having a bonus. Bankers can have whatever they like as long as it's their company that's paying it. We have no... I don't understand all this. The Labour Party conference go, bankers' bonuses. They have nothing to do with the banks.
No.
Cut the bonuses of the civil servants.
Also,
Cut
they're
the
not
bonuses of everyone else.
They're not bonuses that are being given to people that work in the high street. They're bonuses that have been given to like merchant banks, city traders, that kind of thing.
And they'll spend it.
And they will spend it, yeah. And there's also it's a fake argument anyway, because the bankers' bonuses apply in some cases and not in others to a cap, and sometimes you can lift the cap or not lift the cap. It's a real nothing story, really. I don't even know why Kwasi Kwarteng announced that he was doing it. He was not bothered. But the thing about the banks is that the banks were rescued, weren't they, by Gordon Brown way back when we had the last banking crisis, and they shouldn't have been. Because all that's happened is that they've behaved exactly the same way now as they did then.
It's a very asymmetric relationship, isn't it? They're very happy to take the upside, but they don't like taking the downside.
Right.
So, it's all got a bit risky now,
Molly,
so sorry.
This. Can I, because I'm not very up on all these things. Molly, can you answer this for me? Can you tell me a socialist country that has done well?
You say I can answer that, but it sounds like a trick question to me.
No. I can't think of a socialist country with a socialist government that's actually thriving.
No, I don't think there is one. There's never been a successful socialist government, really.
There must be one somewhere, surely.
No, because all that ever happens is when even if they do thrive, and you might have said, for example, that Tony Blair's government was a success.
That was a Conservative government.
But it wasn't really a socialist government. No. And also, when they finished, they had no money left. They'd spent every single piece of money, and they'd left us all with a massive debt.
What about that island?
For which they'd bought...
Of America.
Which one?
The one that's got the prison camp on. I forgot the name of it. It's aged as that.
Alcatraz.
No, the one with Cuba.
Oh, Cuba.
What about Cuba?
Cuba's an absolute basket case, though.
Oh, I thought it was successful.
No, it's not.
They did something very interesting, actually.
Some
Going
people
back
will
to
tell you it's successful.
children in recovery, they introduced a literacy scheme where they apparently got the whole country reading in something crazy like a year. Cuban literacy scheme.
Yeah.
So they did that well.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, people go there on holiday now,
yeah.
And there's parts of Cuba which you can go and visit if you're not inside the sort of basic holiday camp. But they're still driving around in old cars. There's still people trying to escape.
But they're lovely old
cars. But hang on. One of the clues for me about how successful or not a country is whether people are escaping from it.
Oh, right.
Right? And if you're escaping from a place, I would suggest it's probably not very nice. And they're still trying to get to Florida any chance they get. Yeah. And that's not a very nice.
So why are all these people coming from France? Because I like France. Why are they all coming?
Well, but they don't like France because France does not house them and France does not give them any money.
Well, we'll get onto that later.
But we'll get onto that later on. But yeah, so the banks basically. I'm not going to single out any one particular bank.
No, because you might need one.
Well, it's no, it's not that. I have no truck with bank. I've had the same bank since I was about 18. I left one and joined another, and I get on fine with them. But I don't borrow much money from them.
But you can't go and see. You won't know about this, but you used to be able to go and sit in front of a bank manager and have a little chat with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what they've done? The bank that I'm with, there's one just down the road in London Bridge, right? You go in. They've done away with the sort of windows.
You can't go and...
No, they have these lecterns, and people stand at these lecterns.
They do that at McDonald's.
And you go up to the lectern.
And
there's somebody there, so there's no glass between you. It's all very user friendly, but it's weird because you're used to going up to a window, aren't you, and like passing things underneath and all that. They don't do that. I like all that. Yeah. They don't do that anymore. I don't know why.
I don't understand it all now, but my wife actually put an app on my phone, so I just have a look and say, there's no money, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, it's all digital, isn't it? Which probably brings us quite well, actually, to the next plank.
She's got it.
Yeah.
She's got it.
She has got it. Yeah. So where you go?
Yeah. So my next plank is PayPal. We were at the sharp end of it this week because they cut off us for them without any. Who knows, James? Who knows? We got no proper explanation. We were doing something that they didn't approve of. We just got an email, no prior warning, no explanation.
Wait till they see this programme.
So, well, I think they know about it now.
So you know that they pulled the accounts of several organisations, including the Free Speech Union, which is totally
Did they?
but yeah. And they basically just denied you access to your own money.
Well, they can't do that. Where are they based? We'll go and see them.
Well, so
where are they based?
It's a US company, but they are operating under. They must have a UK subsidiary.
Yeah. Do you know where? It'll be here somewhere.
Let's find out.
If you know, get in touch with Mike. We'll have a little walk round.
It's very funny, actually, because a friend of mine once went to Amazon and they had an office somewhere up around the back of St Paul's.
Yeah.
And demanded to see somebody because they wanted to do business the old-fashioned way, like by actually talking to somebody and asking them if they could do something. And it was about a sort of marketing idea and all this kind of thing. And they were completely flummoxed.
One person The cleaner.
What do you mean? And he was like, he stood in the lobby and he said, well, I want to, see whoever is responsible for this part of your digital marketing. I've got an idea. And they went, we don't really see people. And he said, well, is there somebody here that I can visit? Well, they literally didn't know what to do because they were like, they didn't want to talk to anyone. They didn't want a phone call. The best suggestion was, well, you can email this person.
And
they've completely forgotten
But
how
I
to meet
quite
people.
like it. I can go on Amazon. I can say I need some headache tablets or something, and I can do it, and they'll come the next day. Don't even have to go to the shop.
But are they any good,
cost effective? Yeah, they're ones you go and buy in the chemist.
Right, so they're not that good.
Yeah, they're all right. Yeah. Stop my headaches. What's wrong? Have you got a bad headache?
No.
Oh, darling.
No, I haven't. But I mean, if I wanted to buy headache pills, I don't think I'd go on Amazon.
No, you get in your car, pollute the whole of the country.
Yeah, I would.
Cause global warming, wouldn't you?
Go to the local chemist or pharmacia.
Well, some of us are not allowed to drive.
So
Let's not go
tell
into
us
that.
about your experience with PayPal anyway. So they blocked you from getting at
What did
your
they
own
do?
money.
Well, we still don't know because they blocked us. They froze the account.
This is your organisation?
This is the organisation,
Right.
yeah. And
Not
then,
you as a person?
Not me as a
No,
person.
okay.
The account was in my name, but as a director. And then, so all the payments were suspended.
Yeah.
We then found out, so at first we stayed quiet about it. This was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We thought, well, this is a reputational problem because it looks bad, you know.
And does it affect your credit rating as well?
I don't know, actually. It might do. I hadn't thought of that.
How
Yeah,
much
it
of
might
your
do.
money have they got?
Well, they haven't now because over the weekend, there's a lot of press activity on it. You know, after we realised the same had happened to Toby Young and his organisations, we took this to the press. There was a big hoo-ha about it. And then on late Friday night, they gave us the account back. No meaningful explanation. We just got a bog
Nobody
standard.
phoned you?
Oh, God, no, nothing like that.
Really?
They gave a comment to the press where they said, oh, we've reviewed us for them and we've decided they aren't guilty of
No name of the
misinformation.
person who reviewed you or nothing like this?
So, and it raises a real question about transparency. I mean, there's a whole question about customer service and that, you know, what do you do? Like, what do you do? If the only reason we were put back on is because it was all over the press.
Yeah.
But actually, for most people, that wouldn't have happened.
But this is what
it?
these social media companies are like. And PayPal's kind of the official kind of money arm, isn't it, of social media and that kind of thing. It's for people who don't have a regular business and they want to use PayPal instead of using regular banks.
Isn't that like having a credit card?
Kind of, yeah.
You know, why not just have a credit card?
Yeah.
Well, as people put money in, so in our case, it was, you know, supporter base who were putting monthly donations in, actually. So it cut all of those off, so they're all gone.
And so you put into this organisation, PayPal, money, and then they cut it off, you can't have the money, but what a ridiculous organisation.
I know, absolutely ridiculous. But especially now that they've lifted the ban. But they haven't lifted the ban on lots of other people who are still unable to get access to their money.
Why, after the show, don't you take Molly down to your bank, which you've been to for about 100 years, and introduce her?
Well, we could do that
Yeah.
if we want.
Old school. Let's go old school.
Let's go old school. Who's your second one, James?
It's got to be Rachel Reeve for the most boring speech, which didn't say anything yesterday at the Labour Party conference, because all she said was, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do everything. Lots of cheers. It was orchestrated. You could tell it was well rehearsed, but it didn't actually answer any question.
No.
It's going to do everything you want.
Well, it's very unspecific, isn't it?
Yeah, but who's going to pay for it?
Well, that was an interesting question because I saw her being interviewed on the BBC, funnily enough, the day before, and she couldn't answer the questions that they were putting to her about where's it coming from, where's the funding coming from. And the Labour Party, it seems to me now, have become the sort of the slick party. They've decided that the reason
Did you say sick?
Slick.
Sorry, slick.
Yeah. The reason they didn't get elected last time was because they weren't slick enough. Actually, no. The reason they didn't get elected last time was because Jeremy Corbyn was in charge, and actually he was complete and utter failure at almost everything that he touched.
But a lot of the people there, you know, apparently, according to people I know who were there, would like him back.
Well, a lot of people hate Keir Starmer in the Labour Party, and that's one of the problems they've got, because they can't decide what they stand for. They don't know whether they're socialists, they don't know whether they're Blairites, they don't know whether they're Corbynites. Apparently, when they decided to sing the national anthem, right, for the first time, this was a massive controversy. And
Did you see?
Why?
They had to have the words written down for God Save the King.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about... And they normally sing... What's that other song they sing?
The Red Flag.
Yeah, why don't they all go to Russia?
Well, I think they've given that up, haven't they, because of account of the Russian war
really?
on Ukraine. So it's not going to look too good singing the old Red Hammer and flying the hammer and sickle. But, I mean, go on.
Well, it raises a bigger point, I think, this though, doesn't it? Because actually, what you're talking about is politicians who don't go off script and who are really scared of doing anything remotely controversial. And actually, you know, I don't agree with everything Kwasi Kwarteng has done, but I do admire the boldness. At least we've got a politician politician that's daring to try something
Taking a
different
chance, yeah.
and to break the mould, and that's what we need. So actually, I totally agree. And it's not just Labour. To be fair, we have so many politicians from all sides who stand up, read scripts, send tweets that have been done by PR people, and you just think, oh,
But
yawn.
Interestingly enough, SPADs, you might want to tell everybody what they are.
Special advisors.
Yeah, that's what they call them. And they're all about 12 and a half years old.
Yeah.
Every politician has one, and they walk behind them carrying their stuff like this. And I don't know who goes
Downing
into
Street's
politics.
full of them.
I know. And I don't know who actually goes into being an MP anymore, because they listen to these twerps. And I've actually interviewed some quite well-known politicians who have their little SPAD, don't know the answer to a question, turn round, and the guy looks in his papers and says, oh, yes, so if you're not clever enough to think on your feet, don't become an MP.
But many of them aren't clever enough to think on their feet,
So
which
why
is
do they?
incredibly surprising.
I know.
Well, surely it tells you how hopeless the kind of the well of talent is for people going into politics.
Well, it's also a career that excludes women and, all
Oh,
parents.
we're back to that.
Well, no. Okay, women is the wrong word. Parents. So, and this is what we've talked about.
Who was the best Prime Minister?
True. I'm wrong.
Thank
I
you.
eat my words.
Thank
Good point. But I think okay, can I rephrase? It is hard. If you're going to be an invested parent, I think it is hard to also be a very invested politician. Like there are a few, there are a few great. Miriam Cates is a great example. There are, and it is, there is something. It's life. But I would say it's something we get wrong as a society, and particularly politics. I think it would benefit not just from having more parents in, but more diverse points of view. Because you're right, the pool of talent is thin. It seems.
And you have to be, you have to be chosen by some really rather dull, boring people who are totally obsessed by their own political views. By the way, the answer was Margaret Thatcher.
Now I know there's competition now. Yeah.
Well, Tony Blair managed it. He had a lot of kids. He actually had kids in Downing Street. And so,
yes, he did. Yeah,
he was a parent.
True.
And I know that people will say, "Well, he's a bloke, though." Well, yeah, but he's still a parent.
No, well, his wife had a very full-on job as well.
She was a QC,
yeah.
They had a nanny.
Yeah, of course.
Or two.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the reality. That's the reality, though, isn't it? Actually, if you're going to do that job and you have a partner that works, you're going to need help, and that's a whole other question, actually, about is that right? Because you are excluding, like you say, you're excluding talent. So many people in this country just wouldn't be able to make a career like that work. And that's a shame, because that's the real people that actually we probably need there.
But women are better. I mean, I've worked a long time, and the majority of people I've worked for have actually right at the top been women.
Yeah.
And I think they make better
would you say the majority of people you've
agree.
worked for have been good at being in charge of you?
Yeah.
Would you?
Because then I don't stay with them very long, I get sacked.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I have to admit that I probably see my days out not much long. I go on about it because it entertains me and they all feel sorry for me. But,
I don't feel sorry
no,
for
I
you.
know.
I'm going to say that right at the top.
No, I know, and that's what I quite like. You will. He'll be there at my funeral.
I will be. Yeah, no, because I'll be very sad then.
And there are some great people who work in the media but you also get loads of also-rans now. And the reason why is because you can't sack anybody anymore. I mean, I was told the other day, you can't talk to so-and-so like that. Why not? They're useless. Well, yeah, but you can't tell them they're useless. They have to be taken somewhere nice and quiet and informed slowly.
And tell them in a very nice possible, very, very
well, it
genuine
can break
way.
a company, that as well. I mean, particularly small companies that can't get rid of people, you're stuck. Aren't you?
Yeah. So why? And do you know that's why I think a lot of people don't get jobs now, because before you employ somebody, you want to be 110% sure that person's going to be able to do the job.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty with politicians, isn't it? I mean, Rachel Reeves is kind of painted, and when she was being interviewed, she made a big point of saying that she was an economist at the Bank of England for many years before she was now a politician. To which I thought, well, I'm not impressed by that, because the Bank of England has been run so badly recently. These are the same people who in February said, we can't control inflation.
I agree.
So, well, that's your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to control inflation. What the hell are you doing? So, there's a real disconnect, I think, between politicians now and people. And we hear a lot of people on our shows, don't we, saying, I'm sick of the two-party system. It's not working.
But do
They're
we
not
have
really
so many
offering me anything.
politicians? I couldn't name more than maybe a few on the front benches. How can, and your own local politicians, 650? Do we need that many?
Well, if
Surely we could have 300.
Well, I think it's more about the system, isn't it? It's a two-party system that actually acts like a cartel. It doesn't bring out the best probably from within either party.
Cartel.
And it's, you know, it is corrupt, so it's rampant corruption, and it's just devoid of new, brave ideas. And actually, if, you know, you need to find a way to foster more competition into that system.
I think they just have to do what people expect them to do, which is to work reasonably hard, you know, have a fair amount of time off, you know, but also do the things that they want. I mean, like, we've got net zero. They're all obsessed with it. The Labour Party are now obsessed with it. Nobody wants it, really, apart from a few...
What is net zero?
You know, well, nobody knows. If I ask people to actually define it, they can't, right?
No.
But what it is, it's a virtue signalling practice whereby everything you do supposedly saves the planet or contributes to saving the planet. So, like you said, I shouldn't go out driving looking for a chemist when I could order something online. But actually, the guy who's bringing it to you is doing exactly what I would be doing, which is driving. So you're not actually saving anything at all.
But, you know, today, while we're recording this programme, which is live, they've just celebrated shooting into an asteroid. Now, they don't know...
Why did they do that?
Yeah.
Well, they want to save the planet. They don't know whether or not shooting this asteroid has actually put it on course to smash into us.
Oh, really?
They have not... Well, they say they do, and they've moved it away, but they have no idea. They've broken a bit of it up into... One of those little bits of rock about that size could actually destroy the planet if it hit in the... I don't know. But all this, we're going to save the planet by stopping you heating your house or driving, is complete and utter rubbish.
Codswallop.
The climate's always changed. Eventually, we'll go back to the Ice Age, and then you can moan.
Well, and actually, I think it hides a more pressing concern, which we talk about climate change. Whatever you think about that, there is a pollution and a rubbish problem, which I think is undeniable.
That's different.
I believe
it is
that's different.
I believe in cleaning up the oceans, cleaning up the sides of our motorways, stopping people. I believe in all of that.
That's what we should do, because it's here and it would have a real impact. Instead,
Absolutely
we're focused
agree.
on this climate stuff that may or may not have something in it, but it's not a problem now. It's not a problem for the kids now. And actually it detracts, it actually gives the whole anti-pollution, anti-rubbish movement a bad name too, because it all gets lumped together and it's a different issue.
But, you know, people say, well, we follow the science. The interesting thing about science is science always changes.
Yes.
So science of today is not the science in 30 or 40 years' time.
Well, we've seen that with COVID, haven't we?
Yeah,
I mean, all the things that we were told were true and necessary, we're now told actually weren't necessary.
But that's
it
my
might not have
third
been
one
true.
now we've done really near.
Why?
Well, because I'm having Just Stop Oil.
Well,
as
wait
well.
a second, because
Okay,
there's
fine.
specifics about them. First, I'm going to do another one, which you're
I
going to
want
like.
to see this picture.
You're going to like this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Now, Bristol, as you now know, is now the
Bristol.
sort of... Bristol
Yeah.
is no longer one of the great cities of this country. It's a sort of...
Sadly
It's
not.
become a kind of socialist republic all of its own. Do you know the mayor, talking of climate change, the mayor of Bristol, who I think has finally been kicked out, brought in a diesel ban and said that there would be no cars powered by diesel allowed into the inner part of the city from 2021. Unfortunately, what he didn't know was that the city council had just bought a new fleet of diesel vans to drive around the people
He was quite thick, though, wasn't he?
He was
Oh,
quite
he still
thick.
is quite thick.
Well, I don't think he's any brighter, but
No.
But I mean, that was, of course, also the place where they tore down the statue of Edward Colston,
Threw it in the...
and threw it in the harbour because he was a slave trader, despite the fact that he'd actually been quite a philanthropist in the city, built a school, you know, built hospitals, done all the things like Thomas Guy did here.
Yeah.
You know, his statue's disappeared as well.
I mean, this whole thing about slavery and everything else, tragic as though it was, but it's what every nation on the planet was into it at some way.
Well,
they
it was
still are.
at that time. Well, there's plenty of slaves here if they want to find them,
Absolutely.
but they don't care about the modern-day slaves. They only care about the ones in the Victorian era, right? But of course, he's now public enemy #1 in Bristol.
Yeah.
Because if you remember the
What's
guy,
his name?
Edward Colston.
Yeah, right. Oh, no, but no, the name of the thick mare.
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even going to give him a name check.
No.
Because I don't think
I'd
he's
like
there
to give
anymore.
it on my show and have a word.
You could. The plank in question for me is the St Mary Redcliffe Church,
Show it.
which is in Bristol. I can't really show... Well, I could show the picture.
Yeah,
I don't know
go
if
on,
it
show
will come
it.
up. Well, I'm going to show the picture after I've explained what it is,
okay.
right? It's an historic Anglican church. They took a decision to remove one of the sections of the north transept window. And I like a stained glass window.
I've heard.
You know, I do like a stained glass window. In fact, I went to Reims Cathedral once, and they've got a stained glass window.
I've been there.
Which was designed and created by Chagall, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Chagall?
Chagall.
Chagall.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just.
I think
teasing.
it is Chagall.
But
or
I've
Chagall.
heard about your bathroom. Anyway,
My bathroom doesn't have a stained glass window. It doesn't have any windows in it.
Really?
No, it's just a bathroom. It's got a mirror, no windows.
Oh, maybe it's the mirror.
The mirror is not stained glass either. Anyway, you shouldn't believe everything you're told about me. Anyway, so they had...
I'm not. Don't worry.
They had a stained glass window of Edward Colston,
Yeah.
a depiction of the man himself.
Because he did a lot of good for
Because he
Bristol.
did an awful lot of good for Bristol, right? I mean, in many ways,
Well,
he
a
was
lot of
one of the
money into
city
Bristol.
fathers. And Bristol was a merchant city, full of people who ran merchant ships and all of that. Anyway, so they've decided to take it out, right? And they asked the public to send in their designs.
Yeah.
And they've opted for something which is called the Good Samaritan, right? And the new panels are going to depict a crucial aspect of our shared Bristolian history as neighbours and reference a relevant aspect of the character of Christ. I'm glad to see that the church has actually remembered that Jesus Christ is, in fact, part of the thing that they're supposed to be
Wasn't
for.
he a Palestinian or a Jew? Or
Well, I don't know. I don't know where he was originally from. He was born in Nazareth, wasn't he?
I don't know. I'm not religious.
No, he was
It's
born
all
in
twaddle to
Bethlehem.
me.
Bethlehem, which is currently in... Where is that now?
But isn't St. George a Palestinian?
I think... No, he's Turkish, isn't he?
Oh, right, OK,
I think he's
fine.
Turkish.
But he never came here, did he?
I don't know.
No, anyway, it's all rubbish, in my
Well,
view.
anyway, as you were saying earlier, you know, he could, if he'd come on a dinghy, you know, that would have been different.
Yeah, he'd have been a criminal.
Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah.
Now, so they've now decided to reproduce a picture which was designed by somebody else, and it's a picture of Jesus Christ on a migrant boat.
Oh, for goodness
Right?
sake.
And I can show you that. There it is.
That is the most ridiculously... We'll put it up...
Yeah, we're going to show it on the screen.
Yeah,
right?
it is
Apparently.
the most ridiculously stupid thing I have ever seen.
It is.
And you should... Can I just say one thing about this slavery? Do you know the amount of people that were kidnapped, taken into slavery in Cornwall and Devon by people from over in Europe and beyond? It was apparently thousands.
Really?
I mean, I'm not a historian, but apparently along that part of the coast it used to
Are
get
we talking
raided
about the
by
sort of time of pirates and all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. And they used to come and steal people away from that part of the UK, take them back down and
probably take them to the West Indies from time to time as well.
I don't know, but it happened all over the world. In fact, quite a number of African nations who complain and talk about it now used to sell their people or other people's people to the slave trader. It was a terrible, appalling, disgusting thing. But we were not the only people involved.
No.
It's also, do we erase bits of history that we're uncomfortable with? I mean,
Well,
what
we
good-
shouldn't.
No, exactly.
I mean, it's fine to talk about it and put it into some kind of context, but people actually said that they were physically upset by the presence of Colston's statue. I find that extraordinary. I mean, why would you be upset by a statue just being there?
This is when we go back to what is going to happen in 10 years' time when the woke little wallies who are at university have not been upset, have not been shown how you have to handle upset in your life. What are they going to do when they become MPs, some of them? I worry about this.
Well, I do worry as well,
Well, and
because you're
also-
going to have a conversation with people who can't handle the conversation.
No.
And you'll be like, well, you can't talk about that.
And
I'll get
you
too
can't
upset.
handle that actually we, whether it's within your lifetime or before, have done things that we're ashamed of and that were wrong. You've got to be able to accept that humans make mistakes. It's part of human nature. And actually, you know, that was a bad episode. We
Also,
shouldn't
we're
have
not
done
all
that.
responsible for everything
All
that
mine,
anybody
all-
ever
all
did
you.
No.
before. You know?
No.
My life, I've been very selfish. I've quite enjoyed it. And I've done
Are you
some...
sorry?
Yeah, on some things, yeah,
Yeah?
I'm sorry. But,
Good.
you know, and so should you be. But you can't do everything right in life. And we all make mistakes.
Yeah, I don't think I've made any, but...
And well, it's when you dig down and say you haven't made any. That's when that's
Yeah.
the biggest
Don't even-
mistake
I
of
don't
all.
think I have.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, you'll be
asked me
happy
not
to
to
know.
mention those,
You'll
didn't
be
he?
you'll be happy to know, James, that Jesus is depicted as multiple ethnicities to counter, and this is
What?
quoting, the Anglo-centric narrative of white Jesus.
Well, you see, I mean, I have a problem with religion. I believe in free speech. I believe everybody should have the right to believe whatever you want, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whatever, you can believe it. But what you can't do is tell me that yours is more important than somebody else's,
Yeah.
or the fact that I think you're all believing in fictitious whatever.
Yeah.
And then I have the question, why do all these religions dress up? Why do you have to dress up in funny clothing if you want to be religious? Why?
Well, I guess it's part of the pageant, isn't it?
Is it?
I suppose so.
All right,
I
okay.
don't know. I mean, you know, they don't all dress up.
But I mean,
Some-
I get a bloke who rings me regularly on my show, radio and TV, as you know,
Yes.
and tells me I'm going to burn in hell. Well, that's fine.
He's the guy that stands outside.
Yeah, with a you know.
With a loud halo.
I just
He's
love it. I mean,
telling
it
me
makes
to
no
repent.
sense to me. I totally agree. It makes no sense, and it's cultish, isn't it? And it's also
Yeah.
irrational.
Well, it's asking you to believe in something which you can't prove, which is fair enough. It's a
But
bit like
look
climate
what's
change.
happening in Iran.
You know, that's also a
Well,
religion.
which is becoming a religion.
it
a
kind of is.
quasi-religion.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
look what's happening in Iran. I used to have a friend many, many years ago when I started out. He worked on radio in Iran for the Shah of Iran, ran a radio station,
Yeah.
and then it all went. And, anyway, and he used to tell me stories. He was a lot older than me, and I just started out. What a wonderful place Iran was. It was very Western. The ladies were very attractive. The men were very good looking. It was a lovely place. And then suddenly, this Ayatollah, whatever his name was, took over. Everybody dressed in black and hid their faces, and nobody talks. Now they've just killed a lady for taking her headscarf off.
Yeah.
What sort of religion and God is that, for goodness sake?
Well, I think that's right, the things that are done in the name of
And
religion.
it's causing a massive revolution now.
Yeah.
And I think it might actually change the way Iran is run, which is a fascinating thing.
And good for those people who are being held in. And what sort of police do you have? What religious police that tell you you're...
Moral police.
Moral police.
Yeah.
I should start my own moral police force.
Here we've got the immoral police, which is something else.
Well, that's
something
Well,
very
no,
different.
we had moral police during COVID. It's exactly what we
That's
saw.
true.
Exactly.
That's true.
That is true.
Right, now, we've taken quite a long time to get to this point, so we're going to get your final one, right? So we'll have to rush through it. But I'm just going to say we always carry one over.
Yeah.
And I'm going to carry Philip Schofield over from last week because...
Somebody should.
People are still moaning and groaning about it. At the weekend, we found out that apparently there was a woman who was in a wheelchair who was asked to move to one side so that Phil and Holly could go into Westminster Hall. So he's going to stay on the list. But give us your third one.
Okay, well, mine is German magazine called Stern.
Stern. Yes.
And they call Giorgia Meloni the most dangerous woman in Europe. And, you know, I don't profess to know all of her policies, but obviously I've heard the things that have been played the last few days on various social media channels, and she just sounds like a proponent of common sense to me. And I think it just marks this really dangerous trend where anyone who is actually standing up to what is very extreme liberal kind of theory in a number of areas is called far right or a fascist. You know, we've had this, you know, you're far right for defending children, and you just think this is insane, frankly.
It really is.
I agree, but also I think it is time. Listen, one of my biggest mistakes recently, I voted to remain purely because I had a house in France at the time, and then realised that I'd made the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes, that we needed out of what I call the European dictatorship. Yes. And it needs to be disbanded.
Well, when you see that one of the people being critical of the new Italian Prime Minister who was elected is the unelected Ursula von der Leyen, as I call her, because she thinks that it's a bad thing that somebody's been elected that she doesn't agree with. And it's like, she's like, we have tools to deal with this if they step out of line. Well, I'm sorry, Ms. van der Leyen, you shouldn't be saying that.
It's the same one that's still buying oil and stuff from
from Russia.
Well, we need to sort all that problem out, and Liz Truss should do it today,
she should.
not tomorrow. And we should cut ties with the European Court of Human Rights, because that's causing a lot of problems too.
Exactly right. Your final one, James?
Final one, very quickly. Just Stop Oil are going to start trying to cause more trouble. I don't really want to give them any publicity, but they are full of morons and fools, as I said before. And one of them appeared on my show last Saturday, and he had no idea what he was talking about. He looked 12, and he could at least have washed his face before he came on, I told him, but he didn't bother. And they're going to start trying to disrupt everything.
They're going to have 6 days of action in
Don't
Westminster.
come near me.
You know,
do not come near me.
The only thing they are going to do, which might be good, is they're going to block the London Marathon, possibly.
Oh, that is good.
Which is not a bad idea.
That is good. That is good. Because the police might deal with them properly. Because in any other country, if you did what you did in France, they glued themselves to the motorway. The police came along and ripped them off. The bloke went, he said, well, it's better we chopped you off.
Well, they should. Either that or they should just leave them there
and
put cones around them. And you turn them into a roundabout.
So if you've got children going on this demonstration...
Just leave them. How long can you sit there glued to the road? How much time do you want to have?
But these Just Stop Oil, Insulate Britain, Extinction Rebellion, and I don't know whether Black Lives Matter as well in there, they're all the same kind of people. And they all sort of go from one of these demonstrations to another.
Yeah, I know.
Who do they vote for?
The Green Party, presumably. Which, if it was of any point or interest, would have more than one MP, wouldn't they? They've only managed to win a seat in Brighton so far.
Well, I guess what they would say, they'd say that's a two-party system that's fake.
Well, they would say that. But, you know, if everybody wants a green agenda, surely everybody would be voting for them.
You would have thought so,
But they don't. My final one, I'm afraid, is Prince Harry. And I know that you're a great defender of him. But it's going to get more and more ridiculous and hard for you to defend this man as he descends further and further into
because I think he's very
narcissism. Right?
It's bullying now. You're going into the realms of bullying.
How am I bullying somebody who was born into privilege, right? Who's worth...
It's not his fault where he was born.
Lots
of people's mothers died.
Well, he had not in that public
William's
way.
mother died.
Most people do not have to go through that grief.
Yeah, but he's got a brother, you know,
Brothers
who doesn't act like him.
True.
Prince William does not act like a spoiled brat. Harry has always acted like a spoiled brat.
He acts like a
was
troubled
a lot
man,
younger
I
and he
think.
was going through trauma. You really are quite heartless.
I'm not having it.
You were quite heartless.
Just because he's
here's a
going
man
through
who
trauma,
fought on the front line in Afghanistan.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
You don't.
I do. And
He
you
was
wouldn't have done
pictured
it.
shooting into the distance. Nobody knows what he was shooting at.
Well, no, you don't when you're on the front line. I'll take you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on the front line, actually.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures.
In Bosnia.
You were sitting on a chair eating.
Famously, the Daily Express stunted it up as Mr. Blobby goes to war.
I know.
It was very cruel.
And I thought it was quite funny.
That's not the point. The
But
point
Harry-
is this. Well, what
Go
I'm
on.
going to tell you now, though,
Go on
you think this man is a great man.
He's
What sort of
a
a man?
child.
What sort of a man torments his 96-year-old grandmother, who, by the way, he wasn't even going to go and see before he found out that she was literally on her deathbed.
Excuse
he
me.
came to this country
No,
with
no.
his wife, who I've got
This is
nothing
hearsay.
good to say about either.
This is hearsay.
No, it's not.
No, it is
He
hearsay,
wasn't
because you
going
never
to.
met them.
Well,
You
he
never
wasn't.
talked
No,
to
hang
them.
on. He wasn't going to Balmoral, was he? That wasn't on the schedule.
They
He was-
didn't want him to go to
No,
Balmoral.
I'm talking about
No,
before
who'd you
she
get
was
this
ill.
information from?
Well, from his programme of events. When he flew
his
into
programme
London,
of events.
he was going to Manchester, right? Then he went over to
Do you know what the
Germany.
BBC said
Then he went
in
to
their
Germany.
news? Do
Hang
you know
on.
what-
Then he went to Germany,
Yeah.
and then he came back, and they were going back to America,
Yeah.
and then he got the news that she was ill, and that was when he went to Balmoral.
Do you know what the BBC said?
What?
The BBC in their news said, oh, and Prince Harry and Meghan have been the first to arrive at Balmoral. They got it completely wrong.
That doesn't
because
surprise
you
me.
all listen to stuff you know nothing about.
No, that's not true. I've
You
worked
don't-
in newspapers all my life.
Doesn't make any difference.
It does.
It doesn't.
Yes,
You
it
worked on
does.
Fleet Street. You're a lot older than you pretend. It makes no
I'm not
difference.
pretending to be
Harry and Meghan
old
have
or young.
have had to put up with a lot of shockingness
Yeah.
coming from the media.
Yeah, he's had 30 million quid dumped in his bank account. Right?
Jealousy is a horrible
I'm
thing.
not
Mike.
jealous. Right? You haven't even
are.
let me make my point.
Go
my
on,
point
please.
is that he has written a book, right? Now, we know that he's not happy with the royal family. We know that he's fallen out with his own father because he
Yeah.
told us. We know that he's fallen out with his own brother because he told us, right?
But they're making it
hang on.
up.
Well, they are
Hopefully,
now.
if people like
he's now
you
gone with his
would
begging
leave them
bowl.
alone.
He's been given an advance on the 17.5 million that he's getting for writing this book, right, by the publishers. He's been told now that he should probably tone it down a bit. He's gone to the publishers begging them to take some stuff out of it. I hope they don't take stuff out of it because he's written this book, which is clearly meant to damage the royal family, to hurt them, to hurt the Queen, right, who's now dead, right? What sort
You
of
don't know that. You can't know that. You don't know.
Well,
it's
the Queen is
clearly
He's not
dead.
getting 17.5 million quid for a book about how it was nice to spend some time with the royal family, is he?
true.
Right?
Maybe.
So the point is that we all know what's going on here. He's now trying to weasel out of a deal because he's made a commitment to a publisher and he now wishes he hadn't. And that's why he's a plank.
Do you know?
You can't argue that.
Well, I can, and
Yeah.
I'm just about.
You really can't.
Watch it.
I actually.
Sorry, we're out of time.
I quite like you, and but you do talk
nearly fell for
complete
that.
and utter rubbish sometimes, and you've just spewed forth an enormous amount of bile and
Not at all.
vitriol.
That's
You know,
called.
this is a
that's
guy.
called
Molly
facts.
should have the last
These
word.
are called facts.
Molly should have the last word because
Thank you.
he is a child who went through huge.
nearly
trauma.
40.
Doesn't matter. He went through
Child.
huge trauma, and it affects him. You know, you're in your 60s, okay? Oh, have you told people? Oh, you've not told people. Anyways,
It's amazing, isn't it?
And he has had to come to terms with that. William was that bit older. Could you imagine what it was like walking behind your mother's coffin in front of all those people? It is going to leave a lot of people traumatized.
I'm sure that's very
And
upsetting.
yeah, I mean, he's clearly seems to have had mental health issues, as he's talked about at length. He's been very open with that for his
Fighting
entire
in
But why
life.
does he
somewhere
have to
like
hurt other people,
Afghanistan
though?
would also lend
Yeah.
to mental health
But why
issues
does he have to
somewhere.
hurt other people?
But also, you don't know. You don't know he was going to do that. They've not said that. So he's taking
Well, why is he
something
trying
out
to
of
take things
it.
out
Who
of it then?
knows? We don't know.
But
That's
people
his...
do. They
Well,
take it out on
in
other
my
people.
experience of these things, which is substantial,
Really?
right?
Is there something you want to tell us about?
No,
on the
what I
show?
can tell you about is that I have an instinct for things.
oh, I
right,
thought you were gonna say
which
something
is-
else.
Which has driven my career,
Yeah.
which is why it's been so successful.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know when people have a bad feeling about something. I know when people are trying to
He's
lash
a young
out.
man who's lashing out.
He's not young. He's nearly 40.
Well, that's 20 years younger than you.
Well, yeah, but that's
He's a
not
young
young.
man who's lashing out because he, you know, he's in a situation where he wants to have his story told.
Why?
And well, because people are
What
like
story?
that. And you know, it's not as if he could choose what he wants to do and go and hide. He wanted to go and hide. He wanted to be, and then
He
found
could hide. If you gave me 30 million,
If
right?
he-
If you gave me 30 million, I'd go and hide now for the rest.
He's not getting
rest of
30
the
million.
time.
Yeah, you said he's getting 30 million to say something, isn't it?
No, the 30 million is what his mother left him. That's his trust
I thought
fund.
that was the book.
No, the book is.
What's the book about?
The book is
hang on.
17.5 million.
Why don't we all
already got
stop
30 million
talking
from his mother.
Anyway, thank you very much indeed for joining me on Plank of the Week, taking over for Mike, and I'll see you
All right,
sometime
I'll tell
next
you what
week.
we're going to do. I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We're going to choose who the Plank of the Week is, okay?
I never win.
Now, it's not about winning, James.
Oh,
it's
right,
about
sorry.
taking part. So I think because you two have become such firm friends, maybe, James, you should choose Molly's. Which one of her three you
Okay.
prefer? She's got PayPal, Quasi Kwarteng, or Stern magazine.
Well, I really don't like Stern magazine because they talk a lot of rubbish about a lot of things. But I cannot believe PayPal, this
I
organisation.
think PayPal's a good one.
I think PayPal should be Plank of the
Okay.
Week.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, do you want to choose mine then? So
Yes,
mine,
remind me
my
which yours.
three are St Mary Redcliffe Church in Bristol, the Banks, and Prince Harry. I know you're not going to choose him.
No, I'm not going to try. That feels me. I think we'll go for the church. I think we'll go for Bristol Church.
St Mary Redcliffe Church. Very good. Right, so now I just get to pick yours. I'm going to choose out of Nicola Sturgeon, Rachel Reeves, and Just Stop Oil. I think I'm going to pick Rachel Reeves because I don't think she knows what she's doing.
I agree with you. Do I get to pick one of yours now?
No, because we've now picked one each, right?
Oh,
So now what we have is the voting for the winner.
Right.
St Mary Redcliffe Church,
Yeah.
PayPal,
Yeah.
and Rachel Reeves. And so we sort of arrive at a winner by osmosis or something like
Well,
that.
I'm going to vote, and this is terrible, but I'm going to vote for you because I think the church and that stained glass window are a complete embarrassment and an affront to the city of Bristol.
OK. Well, I don't mind that. I can have them winning Plank of the Week. Would you go along with that?
Let's go along
I mean,
with
what
that.
it means is then you have PayPal as number 2 or
pays for
Rachel
lunch.
Reeves.
That's it.
Rachel Reeves is number 2. Should we make PayPal number 2? I would actually say PayPal.
I
should be the
would,
Plank of the
yeah.
Week.
I
I
would
think
make
PayPal could be number
and-
2
and-
at
and to
I would make PayPal
Yeah.
the winner, actually. Plank
you?
of the Week, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the church is they're plankish, but I mean it's not as bad as.
What about
PayPal.
Just Stop Oil and this big, messing
We've already
about?
missed.
Okay.
They've already not been.
Oh,
in.
right, okay.
I think it's PayPal.
Yeah, let's do PayPal.
Let's do
me.
PayPal.
And let's see what they do to us.
Yeah, well, I don't. I used to have
Your
a PayPal
words,
account, but I haven't used it for ages.
I haven't got one, so I don't care.
So you don't care.
No.
And you're not going to have one soon either.
No.
So stick
We're
that where you can't,
boycott PayPal.
see
That's the
it.
hashtag.
PayPal, our planks of the week. Well done, guys. Brilliant piece of marketing.
Yeah.
People are going to be cancelling their accounts all over the place. So PayPal are the winners. Thank you to James Whale.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
to Molly Kingsley.
Thank you.
We'll give St Mary Redcliffe Church number 2, Rachel Reeves number 3, PayPal the winners. We'll see you next time.